Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. This is the big match preview. Hope you guys are all well on your Thursday evening. On tonight's show, we'll be looking back at the midweek win over Bristol Rovers and, of course, ahead to Saturday's trip up to Blackpool as we look to continue our remarkable form that sees the Addicts climb to within now a point of the playoffs after that 2-0 win over Bristol Rovers on Tuesday night. Joining me to look back and forward, first up top right, Mr. Tom Willin. How you doing, Tom?
Very good, mate. Very good. Happy days at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I just feel like it's worth pointing out that you haven't worn that horrible yellow away shirt on the show for ages now, and all of a sudden we've gone 1 defeat in 10, so I've just spotted a little correlation there. Have you burnt it?
You say what you like. It's because I wear it on Tuesday nights to the victories, and then it goes in the wash ready for Saturday. So that's exactly where it is right now, dry and ready for the weekend.
As long as we've found the winning formula, then that's fine. Also joining us, bottom of the screen, is a man who's never washed a shirt in his life. Mark Newbury. How you doing, Mark?
I'm all right, mate. Me and the family have recovered from the norovirus. So if you imagine twin boys throwing up simultaneously and how much fun that is, but it's all good.
Well, about as fun as seasons gone past. We're watching the Addicts, I imagine, but obviously much better this year. So on tonight's show, then we'll look back at the game against Bristol Rovers. We're going to hear, of course, from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're going to hear from the goal scorer, Josh Edwards, one of the goal scorers, got his first Addicts goal in midweek. We're also going to hear from Nathan talking about the fact that Lloyd Jones has signed a new contract extension. Massive news that was announced just before the game on Tuesday. We're going to hear Nathan Jones talk about a former referee. He had some interesting words to say about Keith Hackett. Later on, we're going to be joined by a Blackpool representative as well. Martin from the It's Not Orange pod is going to give us a lowdown on Steve Bruce's side. And we'll look ahead to the Blackpool game ourselves. We'll get Nathan Jones to look ahead to that one as well. Good evening to everyone who's joining us in the chat. We want to hear loads from you this evening as well. Gary, first one in there, says good 3 points. Not such a great performance in the second half, though, against Rovers. Sam says evening. Danny's in there. Shiny Phil, Bernie, Keith, Paul, Dudley, Dave, Rustos. Let us know your thoughts. Dan Wyndham's in there. Let us know your thoughts on Tuesday's win. How are you feeling now when you see the Addicts sit just a point outside the top 6? Before any further ado, let's have a little look back at what happened on Tuesday night. These are the goals from Charlton TV. Brownie was alongside Greg and Terry.
On that right-hand side. Ball into the box is a good one. Campbell can't get there. Might get to Doherty. Now Campbell takes over. Campbell gets a shot away. Touched in by Matty Godden. Edge of the 6-yard box. Godden applies the finish. It was Thierry Small creating it on the right-hand side. This time he did go past Mola. Ball back across. Looked like it was running for Campbell. Couldn't quite get it out from under his feet. Doherty was there too. And when Campbell teed up the cross come shot, Matty Godden was on hand to finish.
Charlton will have the free kick. Gillespie to take. 35 minutes play still. Charlton 1, Bristol Rovers 0. Gillespie towards Berry. The ball comes down to Edwards. Thinks about a shot. Edwards will go for it on his right foot, and it's a brilliant goal from Josh Edwards. Cutting inside on his unfavoured right foot, and he delivers a strike that Griffiths couldn't keep out on this occasion, and Charlton get the second that they so deserve.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful strike on the weaker foot.
There we go, the goals from Charlton TV, Godden and Edwards Amongst the goal scorers, Tom, my jaw nearly hit the floor at full time when I looked at the possession stats because Bristol Rovers had well more of the ball than us. But every time I looked up, we were in and around the final third, creating another chance. And as we've all said throughout the evening watching the game, it was one of the most comfortable performances I think I've ever seen. I've never felt that we were going to win so comfortably like that for years. It was. We made it look very easy. Obviously, it isn't, but we made it look so straightforward on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I said to you, didn't I? About 20 minutes in, I had part of my bet was under 3.5 goals, and that's not been an issue, I think, all season, apart from maybe once or twice. And suddenly I was like, oh no, well, that bit's not coming in. That first half just, ran and ragged, started quickly for a change, because I think first halves have been a weakness of ours. Got ourselves in front, which, as we've said time and time again, is really important for us this season. And just absolutely controlled the game. I don't know what the possession stats were at halftime. But then in the second half, I was bored second half, and I've never been happier to say I was bored at a Charlton game, because I didn't think we were very good. They obviously had a little bit more pressure. They did have more of the ball and knocked it around a bit, but they didn't really create anything. And I just sat and had a chat to the boys around me, and we were talking about planning a trip for Birmingham away in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, it was just really nice to come down to Charlton on a Tuesday night, the sort of game that we'd usually slip up in, just a nice, routine, comfortable 2-0 victory. And I think I said that to you, didn't I, at halftime as well? I said, when was the last time we had what you'd call a comfortable victory? I'm really struggling to think of one where we just put ourselves in a position and just had it just nice and easy. And that's exactly what it was. So, yeah, absolutely delighted. I'm sure there are areas of the performance, if we really want to pick it apart, that we might want to improve, but largely controlled the game, got ourselves in front, a couple of goals from Godden, who obviously needs, I thought had another excellent game after his cameo, and Edwards out of nowhere. And, yeah, very little really to complain about.
6 wins out of 8, Mark. 1 defeat in 10. Now on 12 clean sheets for the season. These are all fantastic stats for us, but the one that really stands out, and I think Tom sort of hinted at it there, we've dropped 2 points from winning positions all season. So I think before Tuesday it was maybe 12 games, now maybe 13. I think where we've led and held on to win in all bar one of them, which must have been the Barnsley game, I guess, where obviously we led going into the closing stages. Once we get ahead, and I would argue that's the only real key difference from what happened on Saturday against Shrewsbury. Like, once we get ahead, game state changes, so therefore we're able to create a few more chances. But we were so comfortable. We never looked like ceding that. But we also, throughout the game, I thought we were creating chances. We were the team in the ascendancy for 90 minutes, even if it weren't quite the same level in the second half. Yeah,
it is definitely a mindset thing. And you've got to look possibly with the sports psychologists they've got working with them now to understand why that is. Why we, like I said, Tom says, it was a comfortable win. And as soon as that first one went in, I don't think I watched the game with any fear or nervousness. Where, sometimes with a 1-0, you're thinking, if they can get a lucky one or someone will ping one in from 25 yards. But I'm with you. I totally didn't believe those possession stats at the end of it, because the game I watched seemed to be that we had the ball a lot, because when they had it, they didn't do anything with it, and we tend to get it back quite quickly from them. Their subs made a bit of a difference to them. They looked a bit better when their subs came on, and I thought our subs didn't have the effect as they normally do. I mean, both Chucks and Danny Carnu, tried to get some shots and stuff, but didn't really. But they had the time and space to do that, where you're right, it was one of those games where I wasn't bored in watching it, and it was actually nice to sit there and think, I'm not nervous. And it's a completely different mindset. And you wonder with the players now, they know that stat themselves, that when we score first, we inevitably go on to do well in the game. If it's breeding that confidence, and it's the fact that the team isn't changing wholesale. Okay, Godden came in, and I think he's the only one of those forwards who would score a goal like he scored. I've said this before, I'm a big fan of Godden's. He's a very thinking footballer. And I think if that had come at Miles, he'd have probably tried to, control it, turn, spin and shoot and score possibly. Gas, it'd probably bounce off his shin and go over the crossbar. Carnu again, that instinctively. But with Godden there, and I think I wasn't sure how him and TC working together was going to be, because the way we relied sometimes on Miles for his height and his strength and his pace. But I think they had a developing a very good understanding, which is good, because if you look to the bench, and then you can see you can bring on Leeburn and Chucks or Danny Carnu, that's a good sign. And so mentally, we're in a good place, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, Sam says, what difference 3 games has made, along with the Lloyd signing, it made the week even better. I mean, Godden came in to start for Leeburn. I think I sort of suggested that I might see that happen on Sunday's show, Tom. And for a man who hadn't started a game in quite a while, I think I looked it up on Tuesday. I can't remember when it was now, but I'm sure it's before the turn of the year. Well, definitely. He looked really sharp. Probably the sharpest we've seen him in terms of an all-round performance. Like, he's going to get a goal 6 yards out. That's what he's really good at, and being in the right place. But it felt like he was maybe slightly more involved than he had been in other games, maybe running around a bit more.
I think that's the one criticism we'd had of him, wasn't it? That maybe he didn't get into games enough, and that tended to be when we were maybe not in the form that we are now. So maybe we don't want to hold all of that against him. But yeah, I think all 3 of us on Sunday's show said that Leeburn looked maybe tired or just off it on Saturday. And so I wasn't surprised to see him taken out. I thought Godden was good when he came on at the weekend. So I was pleased that he was the one to come in and start. And yeah, that was his best performance for me. I saw someone retweeted his goal. I don't know, it must have been from one of his old clubs, and said that's exactly the sort of position you need Godden to be in. And if he is, he will just take those chances every single time. So yeah, delighted for him. I think it might be even into double figures, which given, or certainly he's up there, given he hasn't played or started many of the games. I think that's a huge plus as well. So yeah, just it's one of those extra things at the end of the night. Obviously, the result is the most important thing, but when you also go, one of our players who hadn't perhaps played as much as we would have liked, but we know what he can do at this level, is also playing games now and also scoring goals. It's just another thing to add, right? Because one of the things we were perhaps worried about is if you change that starting 11, does that have an effect on the team? Something I'd spoken about the last few weeks, and Jones hadn't rotated much during this run, but he's taken out probably our best striker and put in somebody who plays very differently. He's taken out Mitchell, who we all like, but had a couple of off games, and brought somebody in who's been out injured for a long, long time. And if anything, we looked even better. So yeah, all these factors just adding up again, going into another difficult game at the weekend, it must just give the side so much confidence, and there must be just that momentum there to just carry them forward now. And yeah, delighted that Godden was a part of that the weekend on Tuesday. Sorry.
Yeah, Ed says, I would have loved to have seen that game on a better pitch. I think we would have looked even sharper. Yeah, I mean, to put in that impressive performance on the potato patch that we call home was very, very good. Danny says, best pressing performance since the Birmingham game. Really felt so comfortable. Matty Godden's performance of the season, but man of the match could have come from 5 different players. Andrew pointing out that both Small and Edwards have scored with the wrong foot. Because Small scored twice. He scored one last season. That was right foot as well. Cross that went in. But yeah, both of those goals have come on the wrong foot, which is quite funny. We'll talk a bit more about Edwards' goal when we hear from him in a few moments' time. And his ex pointing out it was different gravy. Pure class to be able to take a shot from that far out and score for a Charlton player. Yeah, Shiny Phil saying, dare I say, playoffs here we come, or is that cue for us to play terribly in the next 4 matches and end up with no hope for the rest of the season? Before we hear from Nathan Jones, Mark, I mean, again, Tom sort of alluded to it there, but one other change we made, and looking at the comments coming in, people want to talk about him as well. Ramsey, Andrew says Ramsey looks so solid. Rustor said Ramsey was unreal. He is one of the best last-ditch tacklers I've seen make such good tackles. And that I was speaking to the Blackpool pod last night, and that was exactly what I was trying to say to him. Like, he reads the game well. Like, he knows when he has to dive in, but also if he has to make a sort of recovery challenge as well. He does it so well. When he dived into that, like, really strong challenge in the first half, like knee first, I was like, maybe slow down on that a little bit, mate, for now. But he was fine, and it was like he'd never gone. He looked absolutely superb.
Yeah, we pondered about this a few weeks ago, and I remember saying then, would it be possible to have Ramsey and Small on the same side? And it just proved, he's come back. He's obviously fit. He's obviously doing well in the training, and for Nathan to put him straight back in there on a claggy pitch and he proved what class he has and what class we've been missing. And it's funny, you do think to that period of games where he was out and we were looking pretty much abjectly terrible, how much we did miss him. And I think it's good for him, and it's good. It gives Small more scope to go even more marauding all over the pitch. I'd put out, Small's heat map for Tuesday night was pretty much the entire pitch, because he knows he doesn't have to track back and defend, because you've got someone like Ramsey who's saying his reading of the game and his level-headedness, and he's a unit. I mean, the thing now about our back five, I'd include Mitchell in that as well, is that we're not getting bullied by people. There's no one there who's going to bully us. Lloyd's going to lean into people, so's Mac, and Edwards is a beast on that side. And we've got Ramsey, who's also sort of like built like the proverbial S-house, and we're not getting bullied. So it's, you look at that back 5 and 4, and I know Gillespie's got a lot of stick, but I think possibly playing in a 4 suits him a touch better. He's less likely to wander off, and he knows what his job is as a centre half. And with Ramsey coming back in on that side, it's such a positive for us. And you don't think, there's not many people can do him for pace, and there's not many people can do him for power. I think he'd be a nightmare to come up against. If you're a winger, you can't go either side of him, because he'll just take the ball or he'll take you, and that's what we're looking for.
Lovely stuff. Right, let's hear from the Addicks boss, Nathan Jones, after Tuesday's win over Bristol Rovers. Nathan, 6 wins out of 8. What did you make of that this evening?
Look, I was really pleased. They're a tricky side to play against. They're well coached, obviously, with a quite a fluent formation. But I thought we were really aggressive, really front-footed, went after them. And once we got a foothold in the game, I thought we were really good first half. We scored 2. Should have been more. Keepers made, some really, really top saves. But we were really front-footed. Then it was important because we've learned from lessons. We had Cambridge and 2 up against Cambridge and conceded on 55 minutes and made it a trickier game. We also conceded late against Wickham, albeit we won the game 2-1, but we conceded late, and we didn't want to do that. So we've learned the lessons from that. But out of possession, fantastic, another clean sheet. I thought we were really good going forward. Could have been a bit more fluent in between the thirds, but sometimes you can't. But I thought we were a threat, and we could have scored more tonight. The keepers made a lot of good saves. We've missed 1 or 2 chances, but we looked a threat all night, and we looked very secure at the other end.
Obviously, unlike Saturday, getting that goal early just sets the tone for the evening. Much more comfortable game today than Saturday.
Look, they're never comfortable. It might look like it, but they're never comfortable, because you're always thinking if they get one, if you switch off and they get one. Kane's done a header late on, which was truly outstanding. That goes in, it can be a hairy last 8 or 9 minutes. So we had to do the basics really, really well, but that's what we did. And it always helps to get the first goal, because we're very good when we get the first goal, and we wanted to kick on, wanted to get another one second half, and we almost did immediately. But look, we saw the game out really, really well, and I said I thought it was a top performance. It's
1 point outside the top 6 now. It's remarkable how quickly it's changed with this run of form you've been on.
Well, it's not remarkable. We've won defeat in 8, and we've won 6, drawn 1. So we've taken 19 from 24 points. That's why it's happened. Now, we always say it's a long season. So when you go through your troughs and you have a tough spell like we did in the away game at them, then you also got to realise it's a 46-game season. Nothing's won in October, nothing's won in November, September, December, January. Nothing is won. It's where you finish in May. So we're not getting carried away now. We're in good form, and we weren't getting too down when we weren't in the best form. So what you got to do is back your work, keep working hard, keep doing the right things. And as I said, we've got a really good platform here, because that's the 12th clean sheet in the league, 15th in the whole season. Considering there's only 5 the whole last season, it shows that look, we've improved considerably. It's
another game where you haven't dropped points after taking the lead as well. I think you've only dropped 2 points all season after taking the lead, so it shows how important getting that first goal has been, and how well you have defended this season.
Yeah, we have defended well. We're a very good defensive unit. We work really hard, and you've got 18 players or 18 players every game working hard. The game changers came on, worked hard. DK, who's had to be patient, came on and was a real impact. Roy Anderson, all of them. And then you bring Kane back in today, he's hardly trained. But we trust him. We knew that they had threats in terms of Scott Sinclair out there, and we felt he would be really good against him. And it just shows the environment we've got, and that's important because you can't build something over a month or two. It takes a while to build stuff, but you have to start at the bottom. You have to build that foundation, and we've got a really good football club now, and a real good foundation right throughout. And then, before you put a roof on and some nice tiles on the roof, in terms of that, you have to build the foundation, and we have a good one at the minute.
How the foundation of the house is looking lovely. If anyone does need a roofing job, I think Nathan's doing them on the side at the moment. We've talked about his change in demeanour a little bit, Tom, over the last few weeks. I mean, it goes without saying, but he's going to be happier now that we're doing better. But I think he must feel like it's the fruit of all his labours is finally playing out. Everything he's sort of been hinting at all season, you got to wait for us to get more fluent, and I think that's happened now.
It definitely has. There has been a change. And I think when we were struggling, the criticism of our playing style and the criticism of the results was absolutely fair. We weren't playing very well. We were fairly one-dimensional. We weren't scoring goals. And for a club that talked about, and an ownership that talked about getting promoted at the start of the season, we looked a million miles off it. Fair play to him that this has come around. And that's largely down to the work that him and his staff have done. And yeah, you look at some of the players that he's brought in, and we've seen massive improvements. I think, again, Berry has looked better the last couple of games. Doc has been really good in that 3. So there has been real improvement there. And of course, for him, as we've said on several shows, particularly when we've been kind of struggling with what Jones has had to say, he wears his heart on his sleeve, right? He's very, very emotive. He's very, very passionate. And so when we're down and when he feels attacked, he's going to remember that, and he's going to look at any opportunity to then come back and prove the fans wrong. And look, we all want the same thing. We all want Charlton to get promoted. So it's not a case of us versus them or anything like that. It's about working together. And yeah, I can't remember. It was early January. I think you, me, and Benji were on a pod, and we just said he looks more relaxed in the way that he was talking then, and it's just continued. And obviously, I'm sure we're going to play some of the quotes of recent press conferences shortly, but yeah, now he's gone full David Brent again, and it's great. It's really good because, yeah, you can tell he's relaxed. He's enjoying what he's doing. And it's the same as the fans, right? There's no edginess in the crowd now because we're enjoying it too. Right.
You said we all want the same thing. Well, Keith and Dave both want the same thing, and that's why I have a little nose at my graph. Very exciting to say that we are now pretty much exactly on line for the points per game needed for the playoffs, Mark. In real life, we're 1 point outside. Don't forget the average line I put. It could be 2 points higher. It could be 2 points lower. We might be on track already. Who knows? But I mean, it's really getting interesting now. Leyton Orient having a fantastic run. The other side of the Blackpool tunnel, there's sides just around the top 6 sort of dropping points. So I keep an eye on that. But I think the main thing is points per game, and we're doing ourselves a massive favour by continuing to pick up points, and we just need to keep it going now.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's take out the tin, dust off the cliche, and say take it one game at a time, and that's all you can do. You can't look forward, in 5 games' time, what have we done this? It's the next game, and that's what he's drilling into them. It's the next game is the important game. You can't be thinking of Birmingham in a few weeks or, Barnsley coming up. It's got to be right. What a Blackpool take, and as to what the other teams are doing, I mean, good God, Orient. How they've managed to do that from the start of the season, it's outrageous. But and you can see teams slightly falling away now, like Wrexham are getting the odd turning over, which is quite fun to see, and Birmingham still getting the odd lucky win. But you can only do what you do. So it's one of those ones. The graph is great, one game at a time, because we know we lose on Saturday, that line's going to drop again, and we reevaluate. But you've got to look at it and take it as it comes. And we've got winnable games, and that's the thing to hold on to. You're not looking with trepidation at any team coming up and go, well, I don't fancy them. I mean, the teams who we've beaten and the teams we've taken on who fancied themselves against us and turned out like the Wickhams, the Wrexhams, the Birminghams, they got a bit of a rude awakening, and I think we can continue doing that. Obviously now we've got this run, teams are going to be looking at us in a slightly different and maybe adjusting their game plans. we'll take it as it comes.
Excellent stuff. Right, on to our next interview. Josh Edwards scored his first Addicts goal on Tuesday, and I had a little chat with him about his goal, about recent form, and I got to break some news to Josh Edwards that I never thought I'd get to break. Josh, congratulations, your first Charlton goal. How does that feel?
It feels good. It's been a long time coming, I've been saying. I've been wanting to score for a while, so weird that it came off the right foot, but listen, we'll take it.
Have you pinged many home on your right boot before?
No, that's the first one for my right foot in my career. First one from outside the box as well, so strange combo, but again, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it felt like a second goal had been coming for the side, but you obviously you saw your chance and you took it there.
Yeah, we'd had a fair bit of the play. I think I don't even know how many corners we had, but we had a fair few chances with corners as well, and we're making wee bits of play, so the ball just landed to my feet. I think I took a touch inside and I just thought, I'll hit it. There's a few bodies in front of me, so anything could happen, and luckily it went in the back of the net. After
the excitement of Saturday, I guess you're quite relieved to have what felt like a more comfortable sort of routine home win today.
Yeah, I think the second half they had a wee bit of the play. Obviously we're 2-0 up, so you expect them to come out and have a bit of a go, but I think we handled it quite well. I don't really remember them having a proper clear-cut chance or anything like that, so another good defensive display, and a well-earned 3 points.
Yeah, it's another clean sheet as well. I mean, obviously you weren't here last season. Charlton kept 5 clean sheets all of last season. It's 11-12 now. It's an incredible turnaround. I mean, what would you put that down to since you've come in?
Well, to be fair, the first day I came in, it was hammered home by the gaffer. As soon as we arrived, as soon as we were all back for pre-season, he hammered home about the clean sheet record and how he wanted to improve that. So I think all the work we did in pre-season, and obviously we got off to a good start with a clean sheet record. But we kind of dipped a wee bit, but now I think we're back to our best defensively, and it's showing on the pitch at the minute.
Another great stat is that Charlton have only dropped 2 points all season when they've been leading. Is that something, once you get your noses in head, you think, right, we're really in control now?
Yeah, it's another thing the gaffer mentions a lot. When we score first, we usually go on to take all 3 points, or at least we don't lose the game. So at the minute it's imperative for us to go out and look for the first goal, and thankfully in the last few matches we have been. Obviously the only one that wasn't was the Bolton one, but again we showed good character to come back in that game, and especially after the Rotherham one. So it's been a nice wee bit of run of form after a wee dip at Rotherham. So yeah, we're all buzzing on.
1 point, continue. Yeah, 1 point outside the top 6 now. I mean, it feels remarkable how quickly it's turned around in the last sort of 6 weeks or so. But as players, you must just feel that momentum now pulsing through you.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, I've kept a wee eye on the table every now and again, and we just seem to be getting one step closer every week, and just can't quite get in the playoffs. But obviously, we're right there and thereabouts. So hopefully, come the end of May, we're in the right place to have a right good crack at it. Do you sort of pay attention to the runs that other sides are on? Because obviously, whilst Charlton have been on this great run on BBC Radio London, they've been talking about Leyton Orient as well, doing this great run as a little rivalry starting. Do you keep an eye on what other teams are doing like that? Nah, not really. Personally, I don't. Just really concentrated on the job we've all got to do here. Obviously, it's no secret that they're on a great run, but we don't obviously pay much attention to it. Just focus on ourselves and the run we're on at the minute, so hopefully we keep it going. See, Lloyd signed his new deal. How important for that is? They mentioned it. Did you genuinely not know that?
No. Did I just before kick off? Oh,
fantastic!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Well, a live reaction here to Lloyd.
Yeah,
so, how pleased are you?
I'm going to go have a go. Didn't he tell me? No, that's weird. Anyway, no, buzzing because he's a right good centre half for us. So he's a rock at the back, and I'm buzzing to be fair that he signed a new contract, so that's good news. But I'll make sure to go have a go at him when I get back in the change room, because it's weird that he's not told me. But yeah, Brian did a massive announcement on the PA system just for the game. I'm surprised. No, I was focusing on other things. I didn't hear it. Did not hear it. Good job. The breakdown in communication that appears to happen between those two doesn't happen on the pitch there really. But that's Josh Edwards speaking about his goal and speaking about Lloyd Jones's new deal. I mean, Tom, just very briefly, Josh's goal was a very lovely finish. And I mean, do you remember when he first came back from injury, or maybe just before? Yeah, when he first came back from injury, I think it was a little bit. It took him a little while to get back up to speed, but we've seen that with Lieberman. We've seen that with a few players. That's just what happens, and now he's back to his best.
Yeah, I was absolutely gutted for him, because the first 2-3 games of the season, I thought he looked excellent. And I was so delighted with what we signed. And then he's got the injury, which in itself is gutting. But then you're right, when he came back, I thought, oh no, is this is this a Veta Kelly? Is this somebody who's just never going to get back to their best? And yeah, it did take him a little while, but now he absolutely looks like that. And obviously he's been moved around a little bit because he's been in a back four. He's been shuffled inside on a back three or a back five. And now he's out wide with obviously Small the other side. And yeah, I've been really impressed with him and delighted for him. I'm a bit worried the way he was talking about taking that goal there and the fact he's never scored with his right foot and he's never scored from outside the area. It makes you wonder why he was fancied having a shot from there. But that maybe shows what Bristol Rovers are like, and that he had the confidence to do that. And he spoke about that momentum himself, didn't he? They feel it in that squad as players, and they're clearly a tight-knit group, and that can carry you a long way in this league. I've said that a few times this season. You just need to get on a run, and if you've got that grit to just see games out like this team have, then against teams that are not very good, that can take a lot and push you forward. So yeah, delighted for him and delighted that his form's improved, and it's his place to lose now, and he's just got to keep it up.
Right, 7:30, so we can give you some information that's been embargoed until right now. Alan Campbell has departed the club. He's gone to Dundee United, so that will be Luton selling him rather than us or letting him go anyway. So yeah, good luck to Alan. Didn't work out for him here, unfortunately, but he's gone now to Dundee United. So that's just breaking news here on Charlton Live. I don't really think we've got much more to say on that, Mark, to be fair. I want to talk about Lloyd Jones' new deal, and that's not being disrespectful to Alan. It just didn't play much. Hopefully he's going to settle down again back up north. But let's talk about Lloyd Jones' new deal signed. I mean, that was such a great announcement just before kickoff as well. That was really ramped everything up just before the game started. In fact, just before we hear Mark's views on it, let's hear what Nathan Jones had to say about Lloyd Jones signing a new deal that keeps him at the club until summer 2027. Just before kick-off, when the club announced the extension of Lloyd Jones's deal, how pleased are you to get that over the line?
Very much so, but look, I don't think there's any doubt. I've got a very good relationship with Lloyd. I've signed him at Luton. Lloyd's turned into the player I always knew that he could. He's had that potential, but you can't say potential at 29. So what it is, he's had to, knuckle down on what you want to achieve, what you want to be. This is the basics you do them well, and then bring out everything else you do, and then you can be a top footballer, because he's not achieved what he should have yet, but this gives him a real good opportunity, and we're delighted to get it done. He's so important to us in all aspects around the place. We build environments, and it takes more than just a good footballer and a good athlete to build an environment. And we've got so many good people around the club now, and we're reaping the benefit.
So fair to say he stepped it up again this season. Obviously, he had his injury problems last year, but he's been a lot more consistent last year. He showed it in flashes last season.
What I'm saying is, for me, for the 4 games he played for me last year, he was outstanding, and then he got injured. So as I said, I can't say anything before. I don't know, but since I've taken over, Lloyd Jones has been a credit to himself, and that's why we've offered him a long-term deal. That's why we're glad to get it done, and that's why we put our big trust in him.
There we go. So Lloyd has signed on. Fantastic news, Mark. And I was, Nathan always spoke about how confident he was it was going to get done, but in the back of my mind, player power and all that, I thought there's every chance this could drag out for a little while. But if you want to build a successful squad over a number of years, you've got to keep your best players at the club, and that's what we've done there with Lloyd Jones. I think that's fantastic news.
Yeah, it's something we don't normally do, and we'd said when the window opened, as well as looking for signing this, the most important thing was to sign up Jones on a contract, and we'd like to say with the timing of it, and it does feel. Okay, contracts are sometimes worth the paper they're written on in football, because someone can come in with a big thing, pay it all out, and then they're gone, and you're left holding nothing. But he's very important to Jones, he's very important to the team, he's very important to the role he's got, and it does feel like almost signing a new player. And if we get to, was it Tuesday night or Monday night, the end of a window, and we haven't signed anybody, yes, we're going to be disappointed, but then you've got to look on the positive. Signing Lloyd up for another 2 years and saying, right, this is the rock we can build on. And hopefully a few of the others are looking and saying, like when Josh talking about him, you can see that there's respect there. And that's what you want. You want to have that kind of team ethic. I think in previous years, we've looked at our defence and they've looked like they've not known each other, not liked each other, and they've not been very good. I think what we've got there now, Jones knows his character. And he knows that's important. And the players are coming in, because remember, this is first half season that Josh Edwards has played with him. But obviously there's something in his voice which says, look, this is a guy I respect. This is a guy I want to play football alongside. And it will permeate. And it's such a positive thing to take from that, to say, okay, we're not signing any players, but would you take signing Lloyd up for a 2-year contract over not signing 10 players? Yeah, I think I would, because generally you just never know what you're going to get in a window. So take this positive, and someone said in the comments that I'm being much more positive tonight, and I am. And I think you can run with this positive and see it spreads through the team.
Yeah, and obviously it's immediately posing questions about whether we can get other people signed up now. So Thierry Small, as we spoke about on Sunday, Alan Nixon had linked in with Preston, but Richard Corley, who's better than Alan Nixon, immediately sort of poured cold water on that one. But I mean, we'd love to get him signed up sooner rather than later. We'd love to do some more deals. Nathan Jones, I haven't got the clip actually because we've got so much audio to fit in today, but Nathan said in his press day today that he'd be surprised if we didn't get 1, if not 2, by the end of the window. And there's only 4 days left to go. It closes Monday. But at the same time, if we can't get the right deal done, we won't get it done. But I think that attacking midfielder, especially now that obviously Alan Campbell's gone, it's just another space in the squad that needs filling. I'm still eager to see at least one come in, Tom, and Thierry sign his new deal. But certainly Lloyd's signing is a step in the right direction.
It's the sort of thing where if we get an injury at this stage to the wrong person, it could still put us bang in trouble. I think we did need to shave the squad. There was a lot of fluff in there, Alan Campbell being part of that. And so you don't want a squad that's full of the wrong players, and you don't want a squad that's overinflated. But at the same time, as I said last week, if somebody like a Coventry or a Berry or a Dock was to get injured, then you've only really now got Karoy, as far as I'm aware, that can really come in and play there, unless you're dipping into the youth team. And obviously there are some youth players, and you might be able to cover it short term, or you might be able to amend the formation a bit. But you don't want to have that weighing on you. You look at the strikers, we've got an abundance there. So if somebody gets injured, we'll be able to swap somebody in. Same in defence, largely. Maybe another centre-back would be helpful. But the wing-backs and the midfield are slightly exposed if there is an injury. And you just don't want that to derail the season. It's as simple as that. Whilst we're on this good run of form, this is all great. But one injury could then put us back on the back foot. So, yeah, I as you say, I don't think the Preston rumour appears to be true. So that's good. So let's just get the window closed with anybody else. And then we've got a bit more time to work on contracts for the likes of Small. I know Lee Burn's being talked about, isn't he? Because I think he's only got a year left. So there's work to do. But yeah, I'd like 1 or 2 in for sure. And I think, again, and I can't remember who said this the other week on the pod, but the more games we win and the nearer we get to those playoffs, maybe that will just push the owners to think, well, why are we not giving this a go? And I'd hate us to lose it by a point and not make the playoffs just because we just didn't quite strengthen it. It would just be such a waste.
Yeah, Paul says the fact that the club made such a fanfare of Lloyd's contract makes me think, or at least worry, that it would be the only big piece of business in this window. He's important, but we still need more depth. I mean, I think, when you have a good news story, you're always going to sell it, aren't you? And that is a good news story. So the club, make a big deal out of it. And like I said, I thought the way it was handled just before kickoff was really quite exciting before the game on Tuesday evening. Right, one last bit of Nathan Jones audio before we start to turn our attention to Blackpool. Now, you may have seen, obviously, after Thierry Small scored that winning goal against Shrewsbury over the weekend, the celebration very much went viral, as they say nowadays, when he kicked the corner flag and the groundsman, like Jedi, caught it without even moving his head. It was incredible. And everyone enjoyed it, apart from one man, Keith Hackett, the former referee, who suggested that Thierry Small ought to be thrown in jail for nearly decapitating the poor groundsman with the corner flag. But at the very least, he suggested that the FA might try and get in contact to tell Thierry off for kicking the corner flag. So I thought maybe let's just ask Nathan if there had been any contact from any higher ups there with regards Thierry Small's immediate jailing for trying to kill a groundsman.
Just speaking of...
That's the wrong one. Away from today on Saturday, obviously, I'm sure you would have seen the viral videos of Thierry Small's celebration where the fellas caught the corner flag. But I don't know, have you seen the comments from Keith Hackett, the former ref, who suggested he might get in trouble with that? Has there been any comment towards the club towards that you're aware of?
I have no idea. I mean, listen, with the greatest respect, there's there's a lot worse things going on in football, in the world, in South East London, that people should be worried about and commented in the news about Thierry Small over-celebrating and kicking a corner flag. If I've hit anyone, we apologise to someone. But if Keith Hackett wants to really look at anything in the news and look at anything that he wants to complain about, then tell him to have a look at the news. There is knife crime, racial abuse, there's wars going on all around the place. There's certain people in certain areas doing certain things. That's the least of the worries in society today. So, well done, Keith.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. This is the big match preview. Just before the breaks there, we heard Nathan Jones telling Keith Hackett off for grassing Thierry Small up for kicking a corner flag, which was very entertaining. I'd love to know what certain people are doing in certain areas, because that was very vague. It could be anything, but someone's certainly up to something, according to Nathan Jones. But hey, Keith Hackett got telt there, and he won't be doing that again. Right, let's focus our attention on Saturday's trip up to Blackpool. Delighted to say that Martin joins us from the It's Not Orange pod. Good evening, Martin. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, really, really good, thanks. And looking forward to coming up to Bloomfield Road on Saturday. Other than my journey home last season, where I managed to get in at 4 a.m. due to some train problems at Preston, I always enjoy a good trip up to the seaside. Tell us a little bit about how the season's gone for Steve Bruce and his side, sort of on a reasonable run of form, but weirdly not winning many games at home at the moment.
Well, it's been a weird season. Obviously we had a change of manager after 2 games. Critchley came back and then was dispatched because he couldn't win away from home and his formation was awful. Steve Bruce came in totally under the radar, won the first 4 games, playing quite well. Got us playing a 4-4-2, really basic kind of simple style, and then he had a terrible personal tragedy in his life and then had to step back for a month, and then we were terrible during that month as well. And since he's come back, we've been solid. We've been on a decent run, but without winning games until the last 2. But the last 2 games, typically our away form is amazing, and the last 2 games, Exeter and Lincoln, have been in quite impressive wins. But we've not won a home game since September when we beat Burton Albion. So it's been 4 months, which is like half a season effectively. We haven't played as many home games as we should have done because we've had some postponements. But the fact is we've won 2 home games all season, which is it's awful relegation form record, isn't it? But it kind of distorted by the fact we're about 4 home games behind where we should be. So yeah, we need a home win basically.
Hopefully that can wait for another week, Martin. But
no, it can't.
When we in the reverse fixture, we spoke a lot about Albie Morgan, obviously an ex-Charlton player, and I think he'd been injured and certainly hadn't had many minutes. But I was looking on FOTMob ahead of this, and I think he's got the 2nd highest player rating for you guys now. Yeah. So obviously he's back in the side and playing well. Is that the case, or is that just one of those weird FOTMob things that doesn't quite translate to what you're seeing on the pitch?
No, he's been playing very well. You probably know, Albie had to have some time out because he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is life-changing for anybody, and especially a footballer, a young footballer, a young athlete. But no, he he's out for a while, but he's come back, and central midfield's been a bit of a problem for us, really. We've got Lee Evans, who's been around League One and the Championship, and he's a really good player. But apart from him and Albie, there's been nobody really to step up. So when Albie's got back in the team, he's done his customary. He scored a few goals from. He doesn't score tap-ins, Albie. It's, you guys. I don't need to tell you guys that. I'm sure that when he gets one, it's a memorable one. He's just a really good player. He seems to step up when he's the main man. So the last 2 games, Lee Evans has been out, and he's really stepped up and been. He wasn't great against Lincoln, but he was very good against Exeter. He's just a really good footballer. I remember when you guys released him, Dean Holden. I think, if I'm right in saying, was sort of the club were sort of umming and ahhing about him. I don't think you could maybe quite work out whether he was worth keeping or not. And eventually, he was let go. But I'm very glad we've got him. And there's some rumours that some other clubs in the Championship are possibly looking at him. I'm not sure how true that is, but yeah, he's been really, really good for us. Very creative, and he's got an engine in him. Box to box, isn't he? So we've really, really enjoyed having him since he's been with us.
Hey Martin, it's funny because I've met your gaffer, and he's a very nice, softly spoken man, and actually really enjoyable to talk to. And you said he came in under the radar. How are the fans taking to him and the style which is almost associated with him? Because he knows his football, and he knows what you're going to get, but you're not going to get free-flowing, real exciting games of him, but you're going to get solidity. Is that kind of thing you thinking, right, we'll take this for a season or two and then look to move on? Or are you thinking, let's see just how far he can take us at the moment?
I think it's always, sometimes the way you're perceived as a manager is maybe who you've succeeded and what the atmosphere was like. As I said, we took Neil Critchley back and had him all of last season. The style was very much possession based, but away from home, it was terrible. We were linked with everybody, that was available, and Steve Bruce was announced, and not a single person had heard a rumour about it. And he's just kept it very simple. But I think the fans are a little bit. We sort of can't believe he's our manager still, if that makes any sense. If you look at his CV, he's not really spent much time in League One because he's never had to. He's been a Premier League manager. He's had a lot of four promotions to the Premier League from the Championship, and he's. I just don't think we can quite. Still, it seems weird that he comes out and stands in our dugout every week. Home and away. It's bizarre, but he's very pragmatic. I think he's not boring, but like against Exeter the other week, we were 3-0 up at half time, and there was no way he was going to push the team to go for 4, 5, 6. He's not Ian Holloway, who we've had here. He's not that kind of manager. He's very much, well, listen, we'll keep what we've got, and if we manage to nick another one, then fine. But the fans like him because he's having to do a rebuild, because we recruited for a very much Critchley style, which was 3-5-2, for some bizarre reason. Because when he was with us the first time, we didn't play that formation. But when Critchley came back, he insisted on 3 at the back, which we were never really set up to play. But the recruitment all summer was based around what Critchley wanted, and Bruce is having to dismantle that. I mean, I think during the window we've let 4 or 5 go, and they were all Critchley signings, and he just doesn't. He's got rid of quite a few, and he's having to transition a style of play mid-season, and really so far we're very hard to beat. We are very hard to beat, and we've got 1 or 2 exciting players. We've lost Kyle Joseph, but we've got Tom Bloxham in from Shrewsbury, who's electric. A big 6'5" winger, which is unusual for a winger. But I just think the fans have got an awful lot of patience for him. The league position isn't great at the moment, but it's getting better. And I think if he's backed, he would probably do a very, very good job for us.
And just finally, I mean, you mentioned Tom Bloxham there, Tangerine Army in the chat, and said he's a man to watch as well. Is there anyone else who's sort of up there, if not in terms of height, but certainly in terms of watchability ahead of Saturday?
Well, we have Ashley Fletcher, who, anybody who knows football knows that Ashley Fletcher looks like he's got all the attributes to be a top footballer, but just doesn't deliver. He's had so many championship moves, but recently he's found form. He's got 5 for the season now, which is not a great return for a striker, but he scored in the last 2. So he's playing well at the moment. Rob Apter, who's come through our youth academy and has got in the team this season, he's on his day. He's really, really good. A very tricky winger. And I think we've got Sammy Silvera, who's come from Middlesbrough on loan, who's been at Portsmouth this season, who, apparently is for what I've seen of him on YouTube, he looks like a really good player. But I think our success at the moment is based on solidity. It really is, as you said, it's based on defenders knowing their jobs and defenders. He very much likes defenders to defend and not necessarily bomb up the pitch. So I think we're just a very solid outfit all around, really. Maybe not absolutely devastatingly exciting to watch, but we're effective. And at the end of the day, in League One, it's just about results, isn't it? It's about, and we're getting them currently. I think we've lost 1 in 11. We haven't won enough though. But as I say, the home form is a bit of a worry because 2 home wins all season looks really terrible on your record, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, it certainly does, and hopefully it still will this Saturday at 5 o'clock. Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed having you on the show. Thanks for your time this evening. Good luck for the rest of the season.
And the same to you as well. Charlton's a great club. All the best after Saturday. Yeah, take care.
Okay. Thanks very much. There we go. That's Martin from the It's Not Orange pod. Really, really good to have him on. If anyone's interested, by the way, I was trying to just Google. I forgot Bloxham's first name, so I just put in Blackpool Bloxham. I've now got directions from Blackpool to Bloxham in Banbury. So if anyone's going to take 3 hours and 7 minutes to drive, in case anyone's wondering how long that will take you. Right, let's look ahead to the game from an Addict's point of view. Nathan Jones starts with the fitness news ahead of Saturday's trip up to Bloomfield Road.
Just speaking of injuries, you mentioned Tony Watson is close, but how's Gassan recovering from his foot injury?
Yeah, he's back. He just had ironically, Thierry Campbell injured him in a warm-up. Gassan, to be fair, can find contact in a phone box, to be fair to him. But he did that, and that was Thierry. So now he's back in full training, so he's available for the weekend.
We've got Blackpool away next, who after a bit of a wobble have just secured back-to-back victories. What are you expecting from Steve Bruce's side on Saturday?
Well, as we saw in the first game, a real tough test. Obviously Steve's fantastically experienced, a really good guy, a friend of mine, Steve, and he's done a fantastic job there. They're very, very dangerous. The front four really dangerous. So as we saw in the first game, we've got to be the best version of ourselves, but obviously we go there in good form and with threats and with a desire to win a football game. Always tough, whatever team I've taken to Blackpool, it's never been an easy game, and Saturday will be no different.
And you'll have up to about 1,000 at least at the moment, could be more by the time you get to Saturday, making a long trip up to Blackpool. Good voice at the Valley on Saturday as well, but they'll be thinking of the home game against Blackpool and wanting a bit of a retribution.
Well, not half as much as me, trust me on that, and stuff. But hopefully, if the weather's good, they can have a ride on the old Pepsi and we can have a good weekend. But look, we're going up there to do a job. It's a tough game, and it's one against rivals. So we have to be the best version of ourselves, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about.
I don't know if Blackpool Pleasure Beach is open during the winter. I don't know. Nathan Jones hasn't done his research there, but we're going to have to check. Let's talk about the football and not the Big Dipper, Tom. They time wasted unmercilessly when they played us at the Valley earlier on in the season. Is that something we're preparing for again? Shall we do it to them because we're the away team now? I mean, how do you see Saturday going? It sounds like two teams that don't concede a great deal of goals, according to what Martin was saying there. So, yeah, how do you see Saturday going?
I think it's going to be tough. Yeah, I don't know what our record is there, but it feels like we struggle up there. I don't expect them to time waste in the same way that they did as an away side. It felt like time stopped at periods in that game. But if they get their noses in front, they're going to try and do what they can to win the game, right? I feel like we just need to ignore all of that and just play our own game. If we go there and play the game that we have in the last couple of months, then we should get a result. We should get points, whether that's 1 or 3. And we've just got to ignore all of that. I don't think we're that good when we get dragged into the gutter by teams. You look at Bristol Rovers away, for example, and what happened there, and then you look at us again the other night. It was completely different. You look at Crawley at home, where it just became a bitty game, and we really struggled. So I think if that's what they do choose to do, I think we just need to kind of keep ourselves calm, keep rational, keep playing what we're doing, bit like we did against was it Stevenage at the weekend with Shrewsbury, sorry, with the last minute goal, and just keep doing what we're doing because we know we're capable of getting the victory. And so long as we don't panic and we don't get dragged into that sort of a game, I think we'll be fine. But it's going to be a tough game for sure.
Yeah, the Pleasure Beach not open until February half term when it will open for the week. Then it's open the weekends in March, and it opens properly in April, Mark. So if you're planning on riding the Pepsi Saturday, I'm afraid you're going to be greatly disappointed. In terms of team news, how many times have we said it picks itself? I guess the decisions to be made now. I don't think Ramsey or Mitchell is a decision. I think Ramsey keeps his place. Is Leaburn and Godden maybe? So Leaburn looked a bit leggy against Shrewsbury Saturday. Godden played well Tuesday. Is it a different sort of game when you go away from home to Blackpool than when you're playing at home against Bristol Rovers? What decision would you make between those two if you were Nathan Jones?
I think I'd be going with Godden again. And it's funny because obviously they'll have watched us and they're going to see how can they stop us from attacking. I mean, it was very noticeable on Tuesday night that Bristol started putting 2 men on Small and he was still going past them. And you can thinking, well, if Blackpool are watching the same kind of game, are they going to put 3 on him? Because what it does do is open up the pitch, make it a lot wider for us to get the ball to the middle and spread it. And we were getting much more joy. I said it picks itself. If no one's picked up any knocks, go for it. And as for the time wasting, they did it to disrupt us and it worked. And it's just a tactic. It's a horrible tactic. We hate it as football fans, but it happens. I mean, we've done our fair few of dark arts ourselves, and not to the extent of their guy. And I did really sort of bite my tongue just to ask Martin previously that if their physio was being paid by the bandage, because it just got ridiculous of a home game. But I think we've got enough in our armoury all round, because one thing I said at the start of the season that I wanted goals to come from all over the pitch. I mean, defensively, midfielder, not just rely, because last season we relied on one player. This season, if you look along the bottom of who's got the goals, it's just like literally every one of the squad's got a goal now. And that's what I wanted to see. And that's what it shows, that we're not just relying on one person and it's a team effort. And if Godden doesn't get a chance, that's a fantastic bench to have. If you've got Miles, you've got Chucks, and you've got Danny on there, that's a great bench to have.
So our last away game, Tom, was obviously the Rotherham game. Probably the less said about that, the better. But how do we make sure that we don't repeat this? What happened at Rotherham has been a one-off so far in terms of we've gone on to win the 3 games after that. In fact, now I'm saying it out loud, I've realised our last away game was Bolton actually after that. But how do we make sure that Rotherham doesn't repeat itself? How do we make sure that Bolton almost becomes like the stamp of what sort of performance we want to put on the road, where maybe we weren't at our best, but we found a way to win. And look at some of our other recent away games. We're not losing too many, but Rotherham has to make sure it was a one-off.
I'm setting myself up for a fall here, but that's exactly how it felt at the time, a one-off. I couldn't make any sense of the performance at all. You look at the mistakes we made for at least 2 of the goals. It was just so sloppy. And when you look at that defensive 5 in the subsequent games, okay, we did concede against Bolton, but you look at the way that like Tuesday night, I cannot believe it would just never look like conceding a goal. And okay, Shrewsbury had that chance in the very last minute and probably should have scored. But even then, for most of that game, we were so comfortable. So I'm not particularly worried about repeating Rotherham. I just don't think that was completely out of character. And I don't think we'll see that. I'm not saying we're guaranteed a win or a draw. We may well lose the game, but I don't think it will be a performance like that. And as I say, so long as we don't panic, so long as we do what we're good at, and as I said, with the momentum building, there's no reason for the players to deviate from that because they know it works. Then we've got a very good chance there. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think the only thing we need to be cautious of is fatigue. And as you've sort of said there, maybe there'll be a little bit of rotation. But, other than that, I'm pretty confident, to be honest, going into the weekend.
Yeah, and I guess the important thing to remember will be, like, we are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. So it's about not panicking now. Like we say, like we did after Rotherham, we didn't panic. We've gone and won 3 games on the spin after that. So if we drop a couple of points Saturday, even if we get beat Saturday, it's not the end of the world, but we have to make sure that we don't sort of turn it into a habit. Right, we've run out of time on this week's big match preview. Absolutely flown by So sorry if we couldn't get to all your messages. We had loads of comments and emails and stuff, which we'll try and pick up maybe on Sunday. Don't forget to check out our merch store, charltonlive.etsy.com, if you want one of our fancy Charlton Live mugs, which are based on former away kits, which are quite fun. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I want to go up to 2,000 subscriptions sooner rather than later. So hit subscribe on YouTube and wherever else you see the Charlton Live logo to get your podcast, that sort of stuff. Right. Thanks, guys, for joining me this evening. Tom and Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to the pair of you, as it always is.
Cheers, lads.
You're welcome.
Lovely stuff. So I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Don't forget, we'll be back on Sunday morning to look back at whatever happens up at Bloomfield Road. We shall see you then.
Charlton Live.